everybody, it's Matt from the house, and I'm here with Brian from Arbor, and he's gonna help give us a little bit of a sneak peek of the new Arbor stuff for the 21-22 season. Let's check this stuff out. Okay. Brian, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for bringing all this stuff by. It's kind of crazy. We're kind of getting towards the end of this season, and we're already starting to look at next year's stuff. But hey, it is what it is. And yeah, you guys, it's kind of nice to actually see what's coming out for next year, and you can start making your little lists of what you want to get, your little wish lists. But yeah, so starting off, the line's looking amazing as usual. You know, obviously the wood, it's kind of Arbor's thing, and they've been doing that pretty much since day one, right?
Yeah. The brand started actually from them, you know, help restore a koa forest in Hawaii, and they got wood from that forest, from trees that were naturally, you know, dying or that fell down, and they used that wood to start, you know, the first batch of boards.
Amazing. And they definitely have done a good job, and obviously going outside of just that koa wood and getting into some bamboos and, you know, all of this ash, and what other stuff do they use in the top sheets?
Yeah, they use ash, they use, you know, a bunch of different woods. I mean, every season they like to switch it up. This is probably one of my favorite woods that they're using this year. You know, this is gonna be a cedar top sheet on here. You know, there's plenty of videos out there that kind of show how Arbor does their top sheets, but, you know, they soak a log and they slice it kind of like cheese. So there's very, very little waste. And then, you know, these are wood veneers. So it's real wood, you know, that they use for the top sheet. Most companies, they use a lot of plastic for their top sheets. And so that doesn't really add any strength or anything to the boards. So like these real wood top sheets actually, you know, help you ollie higher, you know, help the board respond better, and it's actually adding to the performance of the boards.
Which is awesome, because obviously you want your board to look amazing, which it does, but if it's adding that extra performance, that's never a bad thing either, too. So right off the bat, let's check some of these things out. We got the Eric Leone board. So this one's a pretty cool board. This one kind of came out as like just a standard board, good old Cambridge Park board, and then it kind of turned into Eric's Pro model, right?
Yeah, this board originally came out and it was kind of like the old school park board. You know, like I grew up snowboarding in the 90s, and when all there was just you know, a camber, you know, board, and we still hit rails, still, you know, like did all the stuff that you're still doing today. And it was all just on a, you know, a traditional camber board.
Just much different than this, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, you know, like this year, you know, like Arbor on all of our camber boards, we have the uprise fenders. So it's a little bevel here. But then the original Relapse did not have that. And then now we've added these 50-50 kind of mini fenders on this. It has like 1.5 degree bevel. So it's kind of like an out of the box detune.
Perfect. Yeah, so every single board, basically, whether it's rocker is obviously catch free, but now with the camber, we got a little bit of that. We're lifting up that contact point, making it a little more catch free, but yeah, obviously as soon as you tip it up on edge, this thing just takes off. So
yeah, so then even the grip tech points, we have like this little, you know, bump out that helps you, you know, carve a little bit better. You know, we're in the Midwest here, so, you know, especially in the Midwest, it's a lot of icy days, and I rode this thing on, you know, kind of an icy day a couple weeks ago, and it still held an edge really, really well. So this has a smaller version of what you see on some of the other boards, but it still helps you hold a great edge and, you know, get a great turn.
Cool, and price point is right on this one too, which is never a bad thing. So yeah, so then obviously from there we go up to kind of an iconic board, an iconic shape for Arbor. We're going to the Westmark. This one is one of my favorites, the Frank April edition with the pizza graphics. So Frank has a pizza place now, I understand?
I guess he's in the process of opening up. So yeah, Frank's Pizza coming soon.
That's amazing.
You know, has like the pizza box graphic on the base and on the top sheet here. You know, this version with you know, having the flip tips here, You're able to get extra buttery, if you could kind of see that on the video.
It's kind of
But
sick.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to ride. I mean, you see Frank in all the videos, and he really charges, and you know, that's the perfect board for that.
That's sick. And it comes, if you're not into the pizza, it's okay. Obviously, I don't know many people that don't like pizza, but they do make a standard version of the Westmark as well. So yeah, so then all mountain side of things, the Shiloh. This is one of my favorite boards from last year from the graphic, and you guys brought it back again, doing that dropland design.
Yeah, we worked with him again, and he came up with a really great looking board here. You know, this has our bamboo top sheet, and then yeah, there's a really great graphic. Probably one of my at least top 3 graphics for the year. Yeah, it looks great, and the Shiloh's a really good, you know, all mountain board.
Cool. And this one too, we can actually see that grip tech a little bit more, because obviously it's a little mellower on the Relapse, but you can kind of see on this one, hopefully you can see it in the video there, kind of see how that's got a little bit more of that grab for riding faster and harder on those icy conditions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, this thing is, I just want to hang one of these things on my wall. It looks so friggin' good. And then from there, we're gonna jump into iconic living legend, Brian Iguchi. So kind of on the free ride, all mountain side of things. And this board, like, you gotta kind of catch it right in light. When you see this thing out in the sun, it looks amazing, and it rides amazing too.
Yeah, this is, you know, the Brian Iguchi. I think this is the 3rd year, you know, that we've been working with him on a pro model. And like you know, Matt said, you know, this, when you see this out in the sun, you know, you're out there on a nice, you know, like, you know, bluebird day, this looks beautiful. You know, this is my favorite board in the line. You know, whenever I go, you know, out west, you know, this is the board. You know, I have a trip planned in a little bit, and this is going to be one of the 2 or 3 boards that I take out there for this trip. And yeah, I mean, it's always been my favorite board.
This board's basically kind of for that guy that like wants to ride all mountain, but probably doesn't go in the park.
Yeah, most likely. You know, I actually have taken it in the park and, you know, had a little bit of fun with it. You know, but yeah, it's a stiff, you know, pretty aggressive board that is, you know, best suited for, you know, big mountain riding. You know, like you see Brian, you know, like doing all the time. But yeah, this is, you know, a great board. Been my favorite for the past 3 years, and continues to, you know, be one of my favorites.
Cool. And then last but not least, this one I'm actually super excited about. I love a lot of the kind of the volume shift boards, those shorter, wider boards, and then this one, just the shape of it is pretty rad. Like the tail actually kind of looks like the nose, you know, but this thing's for going out and slaying POW all day long, but
yeah,
it's not just for POW.
It can do everything.
Yeah.
So this does have, you know, like our POW fenders. So it's like a bigger version of the uprise fenders that you saw on the other boards, but it takes up like this whole nose. So it's a bigger, you know, section that's gonna be beveled up like that. But this board, even though it's designed, you know, like with powder in mind, this is really going to be able to ride in all conditions. So, you know, the single board that, you know, if you were taken out there, you know, especially on those days where you're finding some powder in the trees, but then you might have to run on, you know, a groomed trail just to get to the next section of powder.
Nobody wants to go switch boards too. The POW gets blown out. Nobody wants to have to go switch boards.
So again, you know, in the Midwest, I did ride this thing, and it wasn't a powdery day, and it still, you know, rode pretty good.
Seems like you could probably crank turns on this thing too.
Yeah, it's pretty stiff.
Yeah, no, this thing is amazing. All right, let's check out another thing that people don't really realize too much, but Arbor started doing bindings about, was it 4 years ago now?
It's been about 3-4 years. I think the first year we kind of, you know, released it late in the season. So yeah, and that's the Sequoia.
Yeah, and this thing's too, it's like I rode a pair of the year 1 bindings, and they're awesome bindings. They definitely have got some pretty cool stuff. I know, like the X base plate on this thing. So if you kind of, that's basically kind of about transferring pressure, right?
Yeah, it transfers pressure, over to the board, and then it kind of lines up perfectly with the grip tech points.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
that X base, when you're pulling on it, it actually goes right into that grip tech point and pushes that grip tech point further into the snow, and you can make faster, more controlled curves because of it. But yeah, I mean the bindings looked great, year one, and then they've made a lot of advances over the past couple years. Like the straps are a little bit different; they've been upgraded. The high backs have been upgraded. And so yeah, they ride really well, and I'd say they're my favorite bindings that I've ever ridden.
And then they got the metal heel loop too with that mixed base plate, so you get that easier feel under your foot, but you still get that sturdiness. So this is the Sequoia, which is the kind of like the women's higher end binding, right?
Yeah, that's the women's higher end binding. That's Marie's binding there, her signature binding, and it matches up.
Matches up real nice with Marie's board, which we actually should talk about too. So Marie's, I mean, she's a living legend on her own. And then this thing is, I think, out of all the boards, I think this is one of the coolest shapes.
Yeah.
To kind of look at too, because it's something you can ride all mountain, but you go laugh all day long in the powder, right? Yeah.
This is a directional board. I said earlier, this is one of the best looking, I think, wood top sheets that we have this year. This is going to be cedar. At one of our meetings a few years back, Marie was talking about women's snowboards, and she said Arbor was the first company that she rode for, and she actually rode the production models, where a lot of times, the girls are actually riding the guys' boards with just a women's graphic on it. She said with Arbor, she actually rides the production models. It's stiff enough, it's responsive enough, and I mean, seeing the videos of her, it seems like every day is a powder day for her.
Exactly.
I wish my life was like that, but
I think we all do.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great looking board. I haven't ridden it, but the response from the recent demos that I've done is girls are loving it.
Cool. And then also too that like you were saying how she's actually riding a little beefier versions, and Arbor's making those. They're not kind of dulling down the flexes and stuff on their women's boards, and that's actually in this one as well. The Cadence, which is kind of you were saying this is kind of like a ultimate Midwest. Obviously, you can ride it outside the Midwest, but it's a super good Midwest women's board.
Yeah. This is in essentially our women's park board, but it being stiff and responsive enough for that. I mean, anything in the Midwest, you could take this out, and it's just a good all mountain board. It's this is one of the cooler graphics in the line.
So they got obviously got to have the wood that kind of fades into the graphic too, kind of incorporate that. So this one actually has wood top sheet as well, right?
Yeah, this is gonna be hand dyed ash. Ash is usually the wood that we put on most of the boards, and then there are special boards that step it up with some of the wood finishes. But hand dyed ash is usually what we kind of start with.
Yeah, and you can actually feeling this board too. Even though it's only a 148, it's a women's board. It still feels soft enough, but it definitely a lot of the other women's boards in this range would feel a lot softer and a lot gooier. So it's kind of nice because it takes that park board and makes it more versatile, so you can ride absolutely everywhere, but still rules in the park too.
Yeah. Usually when I do a demo, the Cadence ends up being like the favorite pick. I have girls that go ride it, and then at the end of the demo, they say that was the favorite board, not only from Arbor, but every company out there. So the Cadence is a great women's board.
Sick. Well, then back to the bindings. Check out some of the men's bindings. So This one is, which one? This one's the Cypress, right?
That's the Cypress. That was one of the original 3 bindings that we came out with. But then now we are doing a Mark Carter Pro Model Edition.
And this thing pretty much looked good on just about any of the boards on the line. So between the Cypress and the Hemlock, what's the biggest difference between those two?
So, I mean, the most obviously is the difference is going to be the high back that you see here. This is going to be a lot stiffer, and then this one you can, bend, all over the place. So, your big mountain, all mountain binding here, this one's gonna be a little bit more park friendly, but with everything in snowboarding, it's all about, your preference on what you're into. You get the anodized aluminum on this one. This is just going to be painted, but yeah, usually my preferred setup is I grab the Iguchi, I grab Mark Carter binding, and that's like my setup for most of my trips.
And if you're out riding with Brian and you see a blur go past you, that was him on that setup.
But yeah, it could be, that's my go-to. And then I guess what I've been riding lately in the Midwest is going to be Frank's board and Frank's binding,
which has got the pizza graphic to match. So obviously that one looks amazing on that board, but you can put it on anything. But
yeah,
and there's a few other colorways in these bindings that come in, what, like 3?
Yeah, they're gonna be like 3 colors
Yeah.
each. Like we updated the forward lean adjuster, and then now it has a piece of reclaimed wood in there, where we did the reclaimed wood piece on the Cypress in the past. Now we are also doing it on the Hemlock as well.
Pretty cool. So that's not just a sticker that's a graphic of wood, it's actually a little piece of wood.
It's in the women's binding as well.
Got to use all the wood you can. Don't let anything go to waste.
Yeah, like our factory loves us because we save every little piece of wood.
That's so rad.
And there's a pile in the corner of wood that we're going to reuse someday.
At some point. All right, well, thanks for checking out the little sneak peek of the 21-22 Arbor lineup. Obviously, this is just a little bit. There's gonna be a lot more to come, so keep your eye out for that. Keep your eye out for the videos. Brian, thanks. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us a little bit of that overview of this stuff. And if you guys have any questions about this stuff or what's coming out too, leave us some comments down below. We're on there every day trying to answer your questions. We want to get you to the best gear possible for you and your riding style. Make sure to like and subscribe and get that bell on too, so you can find out when all the new videos drop, and you can find out all about all the fun stuff that we offer at thehouse.com. And yeah, definitely get your list going and get ready to get out and ride. And if you still got snow in your area, get out and ride, because any day of riding is a good day of riding.